Everybody, welcome back to another episode of Card Talk, a podcast where we spend a little bit of time talking about cards from Lord of the Rings, the card game. I'm your host, Dave Walsh.
And I'm Grant Thompson, just along for the ride, and today we are talking about the spirit ally from the Treachery of Rudor, the Galadhrim Weaver. She's a 1 cost, 1 willpower, 0 attack, 0 defense, 1 hit point ally with the Sylvan trait and craftsmen, but cannot attack or defend, but has a response after the Galadhrim Weaver enters play. Shuffle the top card of your discard pile into your deck. David, what are your thoughts?
So, just so the audience knows, I think it's important to say that I think you and I, Grant, realized that there's certain cards that really only make sense running in certain types of decks. And while the Galadhrim Weaver is not necessarily that card, I've run her outside of a Sylvan deck. You know, we're really focusing on cards from, that we've used in this Slippery Sylvan deck so that we can see how the card really works within that archetype. So, it's just, we learned from our Boots from Erebor episode that, certain cards really only make sense to talk about within a certain deck type. So I've used the Galadhrim Weaver to do things outside of this deck, but I think, again, like we've said a lot about cards in this deck, is that there's probably a lot better ways to get cards out of your discard pile. Even within this deck, there's cards that are better to get cards out of your discard pile, like Orphan. So you end up with a card that can bring a card from your discard pile into your deck, and that's okay. That ability. The reason why this card is in the deck, as the guy who made the deck up, is, first of all, it's in Sphere for Galadriel. Secondly, it costs 1. Many Sylvan allies cost 2 or 3. And thirdly, when you bring her into play using Celeborn's ability, she quests for 2. Then, what you need are cards that are going to feed the events, the Feigned Voices, the Tree People, and those cards. So that's the real kicker, is that for 1 cost you're feeding the machine of bringing cards in and out of your hand. And there may be a reason why you want to put a card from your discard pile back in your deck. That's cool. Like Sneak Attack, you want to keep recycling it, and then with the Galadhrim Weaver, or with the Galadhrim Minstrel, you can kind of keep pulling those events back in. Feigned Voices, if you want those Feigned Voices to keep recurring. But there's no guarantee that you're going to draw them using that combo. But the fact that it costs 1, and it's going to be 2 questing with Celeborn's ability, and it doesn't exhaust a quest, doesn't matter, because that the character can't attack or defend. Right. So it's not like it's a huge deal. So this card actually is higher on the list of cutting cards out of the deck, but I still can't do it because it's a Spirit Sphere 1 cost with good
effect.
With a good effect and a good questing the first round it comes into play. What do you think?
I like the Galadhrim Weaver. It's very thematic for what it does. The flavor text captures that pretty well. You are indeed high in the favor of the lady, for she herself and her maidens wove this, a Lorien elf from the Fellowship of the Ring. And I like the fact that it's any type of card from your top of your discard, not just a spirit one that like Dwarven Tomb would do,
or like an event or an ally or something like that.
Yeah, and I also like that it's not sphere restricted or ally restricted, anything like that. It's just a top card of your discard pile back into your deck. It's like a mini Will of the West, if you will.
Right.
Where a Will of the West puts all your cards in the discard back into your deck. This just chooses the top one. And I like the fact that she only costs one, and the fact that in this deck she can quest for two. I think that's ideal.
Somebody's whistling back there. I agree. I totally agree with that. One of the things that I was going to say is that, especially in this deck, the specific deck, you're not discarding necessarily a ton of cards. It's not an Irrestore deck, so it's not like your discard pile is going to get huge. Where I found your cards are going to be is in your hand. You're going to have, by the end of the game, you could have 20, 25 cards in your hand.
Unless you use up all your events.
Right, but even then, you still have the cards in your hand. I mean, that's really what I've found playing the deck, and then when you go there, so it may when you end up using the Weaver, I mean it's good, and then you have a one quester. No matter what, like you have one quester could be somebody who's just sucking up archery damage, or whatever you're going to use kind of chumpy allies for, you can. You don't have to bring her in and out of play all the time. So,
yeah.
So, well, what do you think? Should we ring this guy? This girl?
Yeah, I just also like to point out, I think Sarah Betsy did a brilliant job on this card art.
Oh, yeah.
It just looks fantastic.
Yeah, it did. The card art, I think all the elves look really, really awesome. But I think that this one is pretty special.
Okay, so I think we should get on and ring her.
So, for the
dirty, David.
So for these episodes where we're talking about how cards work in specific decks, we've decided to kind of ring in two different ways. So we're going to ring firstly against the whole card pool, which is cool, which is kind of the normal way that we do this. But then we're also going to ring the card within the deck, like how this card works within the deck, things like that. And traditionally, not traditionally, but normally it makes sense that we have, against the card pool is one kind of higher rating or worse rating, and then against within the deck it becomes better, because obviously if it were in the deck, like Grant said in one of the episodes, if it's ranked 10 and it's in the deck, why is it in the deck to begin with? So anyways, Grant, 1 to 10, what do you think of the Weaver?
From the overall card pool, the Galadhrim Weaver is a very good, well, I wouldn't say very good card, but it is a good mid-tier card. I wouldn't say it's below a 4, but not above a 6. Because of the fact of our ability, not so much our stats, but our ability to just put the top card of your discard back into your deck has come in handy. So for that, I'm giving her a 6 in the overall card pool. And because of the fact, as David said, you generally don't have a lot of cards in your discard, I'm only going to give her 4 ratings for the actual being in the deck. It's a card that could be cut, but with it being a 1-cost, decent quester on the first turn, she's not at a 5. So I'm giving her a 4 for that. David, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I pretty much agree with you. I think that I'm just a little bit outside of what you're saying. I think that she has uses in decks other than Sylvan decks, but I don't see her getting a lot of use. She does have a neat ability, and so I think that outside of a Sylvan deck, she, in my opinion, is somewhere around a 7 rings. The ability is fine, but again, there's better ways to do what you want to do.
I agree with that.
Within the deck, again, I've thought of cutting this person, or this ally, but the problem is that we needed 1-cost spirit, or we need Sylvans within the spirit sphere, and so that's where this card comes into play and becomes a little bit more important to just have allies out to do stuff with. So I think in that case, I would give her 3 rings within the deck. So,
Okay.
so join us next time as we talk about more cards from the card pool of Lord of the Rings card game. Have a great day. And if you're interested in finding this or any of our back episodes of Card Talk, feel free to search YouTube, where you can find our flagship video episodes with the username Card Talk 2018. Or you can search the RSS feed, cardtalk2018.libsyn.org, for our extended audio versions of our podcast. Or you can find us on Facebook at Card Talk 2018. And if you have any questions for Grant or myself, or for both of us, feel free to email us at cardtalk2018@gmail.com.